Hi, good morning, and welcome to the Dirt Podcast. I'm Coach Lindsay,
And I'm Coach Loretta.
and today we kind of just wanted to do a little catch up, talk about everything going on in the running world, and really dive into navigating injuries as a runner because it's something that we both know about, and it's something our athletes know about, and I'm sure it's something that you know about if you're listening to this at home. So we kind of just wanted to talk a little bit about the mental aspect of it and how to navigate it, and why even having a coach help you navigate it is even better.
Absolutely. And you know what? I just have to say this completely off topic, but if you're watching us on YouTube, our background colors almost are the same.
Oh, look, we kind of match a little bit. I love it. This far apart and we're still coordinating.
Yeah, that's right.
I love it. So let's do a little catch up kind of before we dive into injuries. I know our rock star Lily that you coach is about to run Hallucination 100 Friday, correct?
Yes, yes. So I'm super excited. She's going to be coming. It's only like 15 minutes from my house, so I actually get to support her at this race, which is really cool. So she's been preparing, and one of the things I will do for her is I'll make up aid station charts so she has an idea about how far the distance is between and about what time she's going to come in at each of those aid stations, and it helps her plan her nutrition. And I'm sure she won't mind if I share this, but I had sent it to her. And she told me she had to pack for like 5 to 5.5 hours of fuel on her because it's a loop. And
Mhm.
that number didn't seem right to me, but I'm like, okay. And then later I'm like, that doesn't seem right. And she's like, yeah, it's 5 hours. And she sends me the chart and she circles it. And I'm like, Lily, you're starting at 2 p.m. You're gonna come around the first loop at 5:18. She goes, oh my gosh. She said I started 5:18 and I went straight to 5 hours.
5 hours.
In 18 minutes. Because I was like, something is not right. So it was nice. There's a good reason to have a coach to look over your workout.
Yes,
Because otherwise she would have been carrying so much more nutrition than she actually needed.
needed. Yeah.
So
And I noticed that on her story. I was like, because she said something about Coach Loretta caught something, and I was like, I wonder what she caught when she was packing. But like touching on that, it's so hard to like properly prep for 100.
yes.
Um, what you need for fueling. Having a loops course doesn't make it easier. Having a crew makes it easier. But it's very, very difficult to try and figure out what calories you need, how much sodium you're going to intake, what kind of fueling you're going to do, if you need to change the socks, where to put this, where to put that. But it's so helpful when it's a loop, and then to have your coach of all people be like the eyes and ears, which is really cool. But having a crew like that is priceless.
Right. And just kind of going on to that, I have someone getting ready to run Wasatch this weekend. So then packing becomes a whole nother level when you're flying. So I think we have to
Hmm.
take this to another podcast because I really feel like this is a topic that is a little tricky to balance.
It is.
It's a little bit more of a daunting task than we think. It seems all fun until you start doing it, and then you start, trying to figure out and make sure you have everything you need and how are you going to
Right.
get there.
I can one up you. One of my athletes, and I don't recommend this, but he got off the wait list for Angeles Crest and then right into Bigfoot 200.
Okay.
And so we were talking, and he's like, I need to pack for both. I'm not going home.
Oh, that's tough. That's really tough.
And he did it. And I was, once an athlete's made up their mind, you can, say maybe this isn't the best. But he nailed both of them and he made it through. But we were packing for Angeles Crest, which he doesn't live here, and then we were packing for Bigfoot, which he doesn't live
Wow, that's
there.
crazy. In a 200 is a whole nother level of packing.
Yeah, and they were 5 days apart, and he made it through. I'm like, that was one of the toughest things to track. Like,
Right, for sure.
but
It's
but
crazy.
yeah, we should actually do a whole other podcast on packing for hundreds.
I
And
agree.
there's two different methods you can do, and I've done both. Kind of go really into your specific nutrition, which is probably the better way to do it. But I've done it where I just like, I don't want to mess with it. I'll use the aid stations and just eat real food the whole time. And I've done enough races where I can get away with that. I actually did that at Badger. I, of course, had a couple gels in my pocket, and stuff like that. But I was like, they got good food here. I'm just gonna roll with the aid stations. I was
Some
like, I can't
people
even.
can't do that.
Yeah, yeah. Some people didn't. It's maybe not advised, but I like the idea of using real food. And the longer you practice it, it does kind of become like something that you're getting more and more used to. So sometimes I'll challenge my athletes to do it on like a shorter race where there's less variables and stuff
Right.
like that. Like, oh, let's use the aid stations. But I did have some gels and like my element, the couple of things that I do like. But yeah, packing for any sort of race is not fun.
Right, right. Well, I'm excited to tackle this podcast on another day. But while people are waiting, I did recently post an ultra marathon checklist onto my Instagram
Mhm.
page at Ultra Crazy Runner, so you can check that out. Just kind of gives you a quick some checks to think about while you're going into the race, so that maybe you don't forget about some of those items you might need.
That's perfect. I love doing like the essentials check. Like I'm constantly doing those. Like you can go from your first column, which is like shoes, watch, sock, like the most things that you need, and then you go down into fuel and all that. So that's a really helpful resource.
Right. And I did get a comment from one of my friends who is a runner who also happens to be a doctor that specializes in skin, and he
Mhm.
was happy that I put all of the sunscreen protection that I put in there, and he made a comment to make sure that you're doing 30 plus SPF. So,
Yes, I currently have a burned forehead from being in the mountains for hours, and I did not reapply. I put it
the
on, but I did not reapply.
mountains are
So.
dangerous for that.
I know, and I was, because my dad went with me, and so I was scolding him prior. I'm like, be sure to put on sunscreen, like, and then here I am, I get burnt my forehead to a crisp. But usually I'm pretty good about it. But yeah, being out longer, a little travel size sunscreen is really useful for a drop bag or things like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's
Well, cool.
injury a little bit.
Yeah, so injuries. I mean, I think we've all been through them, right? Like they're so mentally hard to deal with. I think even more than physically. Like a lot of us are really trained to handle pain, and a lot of times we can run through the pain, but then it becomes, are you making it worse? Are you pushing out your recovery by being stubborn and still running? Is it something you can run through? A lot of times, that's where having a coach is really helpful for a new runner or a seasoned runner, but to have a second set of eyes on, am I injured or is this something that we can work through? But dealing with any sort of injury is probably the worst part about running. Like it's almost inevitable. We can do things that strengthen our body and kind of like make ourselves more healthy to deal with these things, but sometimes things just happen, right?
Right, right. Well, I mean, we can just throw this out here. I mean, my I have a little niggle going on, and it happened
Mhm.
after walking on a sandy beach in San Diego. I had nothing to do with my running, and but yet
Mhm.
it's setting me back from running. So it can be just from life itself, or it can happen
Right.
during the run.
Yeah. And I know that that's been incredibly frustrating for you to deal with. What are some things that you're kind of taking from this moment? And I know that you've had some other heel issues in the past, but what's some kind of advice that you can give on dealing with something like you're going through?
Right. I think the big thing is being patient, right? Because
Mhm.
we want it to be gone right away, and that can really get to you. And then also remembering that your fitness is going to be there. You know that even if you have to take some time off, your fitness is going to be there, and it's better than pushing through it and making it
Mhm.
become worse injury than it may be that it would or was. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. I've been able to maintain strength training. So, there's pieces that you can still keep up with your training, I think, even if you have an injury, things that are avoiding the issue that you have, to still keep working on. And sometimes it's also cross training, cycling or
Mhm.
kayaking or, whatever it is that you're,
Swimming, yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah. I can totally relate to this. I mean, I'm knock on wood, but I'm constantly like getting non-running related injuries. Like currently I have bad ribs and I'm not sure why, but I've definitely damaged them from falls and running. But I was just sleeping the other day on my couch and my rib is killing me. But I do this like once or twice a year where I'll get a rib injury. So I have to like really learn how to navigate those. But a really bad injury I had was actually last year, right before Badwater. I was doing the 5 jackals in 5 days and I fell on day two, and which is normal, but every day when I woke up, my rib would get worse and worse and worse. Like I was like, oh no, I really messed up my rib. And stubbornly, I keep pushing. And then I was like, I'll rest after the 5 days. Well, we're about 3 weeks out from Badwater, maybe a month, thankfully, a month. And I was like, all right, I can't do anything until this rib is better because I couldn't breathe. I couldn't even like sit up like this. It was not happening. And like Badwater is expensive. I'm like, am I gonna like go into this race and not be able to even run a single step? And I remember being 3 weeks out and I went on a 10-mile hike and I couldn't do it. So I really like focused on be patient. Like I sat in the sauna, which was something I could do. So you focus on something you can do that's helpful for your race or for just fitness. The sauna was something I needed. So I sat in the sauna after I could move, I started walking in the pool. I couldn't swim, so I just started walking in the pool. And then I got on a stationary bike because I wasn't about to risk falling on a bike. And then I just said, 10 different prayers and come around Badwater, I was perfectly fine, but I could not wear a bra. I couldn't like wear anything tight. Like it was truly awful. So, but little things like that, you have to stay patient in the recovery and you have to be so diligent and you have to focus on the things that you can do that won't make it worse, like you were saying.
Right. And it's so easy for us to be like, "Oh, I feel good. Let me just go test it." And sometimes
No.
test is going to set you back. So it's better to
Hmm.
kind of hold off and not do that. I think my
Hmm.
another thing, so I think patience is huge. I think the other piece and like the cross training like you even
Hmm.
suggested like the pool and the elliptical or the bike. But then the other piece is I I use my physical therapist, Liesel,
Hmm.
to keep me under check, kind of like a coach, right? Because
Right.
I think I know I definitely I have a high pain tolerance, and so that can get me into doing stuff longer than I probably should because I don't recognize the pain as much, and I feel like
Right.
a lot of ultra runners are probably in the same shoes as I am, and so we have
Yeah.
pain tolerance, and then we have this, pain, and we can run through it, right? And so, but should we? And so that's
Yeah.
a really good thing for me to like soundboard with Liesel about whether, like she'll say you can go on a run, but she'll always give me a limit because she
Yeah.
she says I can go on a run. It might be a couple of hours, it might be the next day, right? But like
Right. Yeah.
be like 3 miles, so she kind of
3 miles. Yeah.
limits on me. I think that's big. And then another thing that she also tells a lot of our athletes and myself is a system that's red light, yellow light, green light. So it's a stoplight
Hmm.
system. So yellow light, you have a little bit of a pain. You make some adjustments. It feels better. It doesn't worsen. Keep going, but proceed with caution. The other is, you feel great, green, go. But if it's a pain that worsens or you can't make any changes with it, then you should stop, right? So
Right.
I think it has been a nice guide for me to have in my head, those, to decide whether I should go, and then kind of thinking about what's the recovery. So if I have something that bothers me and I go for a run, how quickly do those tissues adapt and recover? Are they by the next morning when I wake up, is it better? And am I able to then move forward with a run, or is that still lingering on? And how long does that linger?
Right. And as you're speaking about this, I'm like, we should totally have Dr. Liesel on
Good.
to speak about these because these are daily conversations I have with athletes, like
Yes.
daily. My favorite is someone will message, "Hey, I'm in so much pain. I can't finish the run. I'm going to stop." I'm like, "Okay, thank you for letting me know." And they should have let me know earlier because I know this didn't just happen.
Right.
But thank you for letting me know. Let's completely take a few days off. If you're saying you're in about a max pain, let's take the next 2 days off and reassess, see how you are walking around. And then they'll be like, oh, I'd like to still run tomorrow. I know you'd like to, but do not
Right.
run
We all
tomorrow.
want to.
Like, sorry, no.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
no. But I mean, we're all guilty of it, right? Like
Sure.
that's all of our happy place. Like everyone that we coach and that we're around, like we all love to run. But I highly encourage everybody listening to have a sort of maybe not backup, but something you like to do for cross training anyway. That way it doesn't feel like you're taking off from fitness or taking off from something you enjoy. So I love to swim. I really enjoy swimming. We have like our heated pool here at the apartment. So I can swim all year round. So that's kind of my go-to. But if biking's your go-to or whatever it is, just have something in your back pocket that you do regularly to kind of keep your mind in the game while you're down and out.
Yeah, for sure. And cycling can be a huge asset when you're not able to run, but so you can do something that's non-impact that
Hmm.
keeps your cardio up, and you might
Right.
not even really miss a beat when you come back, right? Then you're just thinking
Exactly.
about that tissue adaptation again for impact of the sport once you start running again, if it's an extended period of time. But otherwise, that
Right.
can kind of keep you in there. But I think the other thing that you have to be cautious with is when you do decide to do like cycling as a alternative or elliptical is not going full on into it, especially if you haven't
Hmm.
been doing it frequently. You need to, adapt into that too. I think the big
Hmm.
is too for cycling is that you're going to have a really sore butt if you decide to all of a sudden
Yep.
go over and do
Yep.
full amount of time in the saddle.
It's so true, right? But yeah, everyone should have that like that other activity that maybe you do once a week that is just fun for you and that you do enjoy. That way, when you get there, you know how to use it and you're not a complete newbie to it.
Right,
Because
right.
I don't know anybody that is a professional or a casual runner that doesn't deal with an injury from time to time. I know even Walmsley pulled out of Western States this year because he was injured. Like everybody goes through it, and it could just be something so slight that you know you're going to feel over 100 miles,
Mhm.
or it can be something a little bit more nagging in your day to day. But either way, you got to be honest with yourself and you have to be patient. Be honest with your coach because a lot of times we don't hear about injury until
It's too
you're
late.
at that max pain.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, you've been running on this? Like, why wouldn't you tell me?
Right, exactly. Yes. That's one of the things I like to tell athletes, training plans are not written in stone, right? So if
Yes,
you're,
yeah.
you need to always listen to your body. And if we need to adjust a plan, I would much rather adjust the plan and avoid an injury than keep pushing through, because
Yep.
sometimes people get wrapped up in, I need to get this much volume before this race because this race is coming. And so they're afraid of
Hmm.
missing any single workout. But when reality is it would be better to miss those workouts than to push through
Yeah.
and have an injury when you're on the starting line. It's better to kind of,
Yeah.
change gears here, make it so we can avoid that,
Right.
day. I'm also
Yeah.
a big believer in having, a good team around you. So whether it's a physical therapist or a chiropractor, a massage therapist, lots of different resources that you can use to help, actually get some hands-on body work when you're start to feel a little bit off. I think it's really smart,
Hmm.
book a massage or go see your physical therapist. I think I know before I really started utilizing physical therapists, I felt like it was like the last resort. You only go there if you're like really in. And that's not really true. I think doing some preventative work with a PT has really helped me a lot, learning more about mobility and strength training and, corrective things to make it so I don't get into that injury position. So I think that's, something curious from you as a massage therapist, because I get this question, like, how often should I get a massage? How long should I get a massage for? What kind of massage should I get?
Well, so when you think about a massage, especially as an athlete, you're most likely going to be getting like a deep tissue sports therapy massage. A lot of us don't go in just to relax to get a light, fluffy massage. Like we hurt, we want to feel better. So what I tell people is think of it as a hard workout because it is. I am manipulating your muscles. I'm tearing them down so they can rebuild better. So you're not going to do it daily. You're going to do it if you're really in it. I say once a week. You can probably push it to like once every 4 or 5 days. But even better if you have if and that's just like when you're in like a phase where you're trying to recover and heal something. Maintenance once a month is perfect. But if you have and I don't have someone here, but I do this a lot for people. If you have a good relationship with a massage therapist where you can work out like a 30-minute session of just focusing on something that's bothering you more frequently. So you can go to them like twice a week because of a hamstring issue where they're not doing a full hour session on you, but they're doing some stretching, they're doing some manual manipulation, they're doing more of like the recovery stuff. That's also really helpful. But for most people, if you're like really in good training and you have the resources to do it, once a week would be ideal. But if you don't, do it as often as you can. But I really wouldn't suggest any more than once a week. Like I do see people daily, but it's just like the fluff massage. Like they just got too much money and time on their hands.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good tip. I hadn't really thought about the 30 minutes and getting, a really focused area. I think that's a really smart tip. So,
Yeah, yeah, it does help. I mean, think of how many times you use your scraper tool, or like
exactly.
if you can get someone else to kind of use some cupping on you or acupuncture or massage a couple times a week, and you have that resource available to you, go for it. Or if your back is sore, anything like that. But I'm curious for you, when do you get your massages or any sort of manipulation work? Do you do it on a rest day or do you do it on a running day?
I usually take a rest day to kind of let my body soak it all in. Or
Yeah, soak it all in.
if I sometimes I will do a run prior to a massage, but I do
Yeah.
think you're right. It is another stressor. It's like another workout, so we have to be careful
Mhm.
with that balance. But
Yeah.
so typically it's just more of a rest day for me. I guess we would call
Yeah.
it recovery.
Yeah, a little active recovery. Yeah, and I see so many runners, and the telltale sign that some I before even someone tells me they're a runner, I can just feel the hamstring tightness, and I'm like, oh, you're one of us.
Oh, that's
But
great.
it's so much fun. But yeah, like obviously this sport is one of the cheapest sports you can do because you just put on your shoes and go. But we've made it, and if you do it right, or if you do it the way that a lot of people want to do it, it can get pretty pricey. So whatever you can afford to do is great. And if you can't really afford to go get a massage, we did talk about a lot of tools that you can buy yourself and do things like that. And then one of the biggest things you can do for injury prevention is mobility work and strength work and all of that. So there's definitely ways to do this on an easier budget.
For sure, for sure. I mean, the strength training piece can be huge to keep
Mhm.
you away from injury, right? Or as
Yeah,
much as possible to prevent that. I think it's is huge.
right. Yeah, just don't sleep on the couch with a bad rib.
Or walk on a sandy beach, I mean,
Exactly.
out there.
And I think that a lot of our athletes or just runners we know would say the same thing. Like running isn't the thing that will ever get them injured. It's just life.
Yes, exactly. And which
It's
is
just
so
life.
frustrating, right? For me, I'm like, I don't even really like the beach. I was just at the beach.
Like this was just something I had to do, and now here I am with a
Right,
sore heel.
right.
No, yeah, it's definitely frustrating, but again, like we just have to learn how best to not panic and to take it day by day. And I always tell people too, like it's really wild to me that how fast your body can recover if it's something that it is recoverable quickly. Because when you think about it, let's say you run any distance, let's just throw 100 miles in there because it's something we relate to. When you run 100 miles, you can barely walk the day after or the day that day if it's an early finish. Give it 3 days and you feel like you can run like no problem. I mean, obviously your body's still recovering and things like that. But the amount of time, the turnaround time that your body can heal itself with proper sleep is wild. So just think about that in an injury. Like you just have to allow your body to do its thing. Sometimes medical intervention is, of course, necessary, but your body can heal very, very well.
Right, for sure. And I think that's where we think about making sure you're getting in proper nutrition and sleep, right, to help
Hmm.
aid that recovery too.
Right. And my athlete that did the hard 100 and the 200, he kept asking me, he's like, what do I do to speed up recovery? And I gave him little tips, but I'm like, you have to sleep. Like,
Yep.
this is a non-negotiable. Like, I don't like if you do anything, sleep is at the top of the list.
Right, absolutely.
I was like,
It's
because you
free.
have to, it's free. It feels great. You're gonna want to, but that's where your body completely restores and recovers itself. So if you don't sleep, you're not gonna recover, which I mean, I don't understand how some people, do these crazy things, and then don't you get proper sleep every night. I'm a bad sleeper, so I really try and like this morning I wanted to get up before we talked, but I was up at the witching hour just staring at the wall. So I was like, go back to sleep, you'll run later. But yeah, I think that just every injury is different and we just have to be patient with it.
I agree. And I think
Yeah.
being patient, checking with the team, finding something
Hmm.
else that you can do to keep yourself busy, and
Hmm.
not giving up hope, right? You're
Yeah.
you're going to recover and you're going to be okay. it might mean you have to miss a race, or it might mean the race that you were hoping is going to be pushed out a little ways. But sometimes cutting that loss now is better for longevity in the sport later. So, make
Right.
decisions, I think, wisely. I think we do get in that situation sometimes where we've already spent all of this money, like you were suggesting, with bad water, and then
Mhm.
like, what do I do? And
Yeah.
sometimes we do have to make the hard decision not to start, get on the start line.
Yeah.
And other times we're able to make the decision to I'm gonna try it and see how I go. And maybe that doesn't mean I can finish this race. I mean, it's happened to me, as you know, my heel issue has been an ongoing thing, not this new one, but in the
Yeah.
past. And so there were races that I wasn't able to finish because I was in not a good spot, So sometimes
Right.
I take that call too, which is not always fun.
Right. And that can be sometimes the damage from having to stop a race is so much more psychologically difficult than just not starting it. But you have to know yourself. You have to know I'd be really happy to try, as long as I'm not making it worse type of thing. Like you were saying, like you could have maybe not shown up to that race, but you know yourself and you know that you wanted to try.
Right.
And and you just have to know that, I mean, gosh, we've all had a DNF and they just tear your heart apart, right? Like when you have to stop. So that's sometimes not worth it, right? Like sometimes it's just better to take the heartache of not starting and letting your body recover some more.
Yeah, yeah. And I think sometimes, even just getting to the line, it's a little hard to know, right? That's where I've been with my heel, thinking, okay, I know that this is questionable about how long I can keep going, because we never get to the point that we do in a 100-mile race in a training run, right? Because our
Right.
runs might max out at 5 hours. So we might do really well during that time. But then when you get deeper into the race, and that's where I've gotten into the issue, was where the pain really had returned for me, and I had to, make the decision to call it. So, I think it can happen. Hopefully, if you do have smart training, strength training, mobility, you're listening to your body, you won't get into these issues as often. And I think having a coach can help guide you with that. But like you said, it's inevitable. It's sometimes that this is going to happen. And when we do, we just need to make really smart choices about how we navigate that injury and how we go into the next race that we are approaching. And maybe it's setting new expectations for ourselves. Maybe it's not that PR kind of day. Maybe it's going to be, I'm going to get to the finish safely, so you might have to
Hmm.
assess some of that too.
Right. And let's touch on that a little bit. I mean, like you said, with an injury, like managing that expectation, but I constantly have to remind myself and my athletes too, like every single race or run is not going to be a PR. It's impossible.
Right.
Like there's so many different variables that we come across. And let's say you do have an injury that you can run through that you know you're probably going to make it okay. But our mind is so funny as a runner. Like if we were able to PR every single time we went out, like that would be incredible, but it's just not. Like there's too many variables, there's too many little injuries and things like that. But yeah, just speaking on that a little bit, like managing expectations is huge.
Right, right. I agree. And I'm glad you kind of broke it up into not just racing. I think everyday training. Sometimes I'll
Mhm.
have athletes that are frustrated that their workout didn't go well, and it's kind of like, well, you can't have just like you can't have an all races be A races, training runs can't
Mhm.
all be A runs, right? There's going to be
No, yeah.
that you just don't get the goal that you want, but it's not wasted time, right? You're still out there
Right.
building some mental strength, and you're learning some things to move forward to the next run that you do. So it's not for nothing, right? But we
Right.
sometimes, I think, have a check with ourselves about that, because they can't all be perfect.
Yeah, and especially if you run like the same routes, I find myself doing this so many times, or I'll actually avoid a route because I'm like, I have to get this faster than the last time. I'm like, why? No, you don't.
Yeah. I have people that do that too, like, oh, this is my fastest time I've done this loop. I'm like, why are you
Yeah.
doing that loop?
Like you stay off of that loop. And I do it with climbs because it's easy to like when your watch beeps, you can say, oh, like that climb didn't change, but my pace was faster. Oh, it's this. I mean, we're all just so competitive with ourselves, and we all want to be our best. But truly, like our bodies don't feel the same day to day. Sometimes we might have a little injury or might just not be feeling our best in sleep or stress, whatever it is. Just managing expectations in day to day is really useful. Like
Sure.
it's something I really try and tell myself, like every day does not have to be a PR. I promise. You're not gonna die. Like
Yep, yep.
let's see. Another thing kind of related to injury that we can speak about. I wonder how Liesel feels about like KT tape and everything like that. Do you know?
Yeah, so she does recommend it some. There are
Mhm.
times when, something's going on. She'll be like, give me the old X marks the spot, put it
Hmm.
bothers you and see if that helps. So
Yeah.
she does, yeah. And I also, I use K-Teep myself. Sometimes, we're using it for some inflammation, right? I'll have somebody
Hmm.
twisted an ankle or, has some kind of unusual swelling from a tendon or whatever.
Right.
I've noticed some great uses for KT tape and
Yeah.
that it can help with that. So yeah.
Yeah, I like it as well. And I kind of just want to know her thoughts about it because I have a different kind of experience with it. I have, you have your heel, I have my Achilles that just comes and goes
Hmm.
my whole life. Like it just is what it is. But I remember probably around 2022 is when it was flaring up really bad. And I used KT tape almost too much, I think, as a crutch, where I was putting it on every single run. And I used like 8 pieces of tape. Like,
It was holding you together.
because it was holding me together, but it actually felt so good to like have it. It was almost like a brace, like it was cradled so well on my foot. And I just got in the habit and I was going through at least a roll like every 2 weeks, and that stuff
Not
gets
cheap.
expensive. So finally, one day I was just like, why am I doing this? Like, I've been dealing with this long enough. If it's not healed, maybe I should take some time off. So let me try.
Yep, yep.
So I didn't put it on, and then it was like a switch in my mind. Like it didn't hurt all of a sudden.
Right. That's funny. Sometimes when I put it on for a reason, my husband is sure it's just in my head, like, is that
Yeah, yeah.
helping or is it just in your head? Maybe there is a mental piece to it, but
It does feel really good.
yeah, I think it for certain things, maybe not long term, but
Yeah, long term.
it
Yeah.
helps, be a little bit of a support, here and there. And like you
Hmm.
said, if you're using it for a really long time, maybe either you need to go checked out or you need to figure
Yeah, it just became part of my like outfit choice of the day. Like 8 pieces of KT tape. But yeah, so do little checks in with yourself like that. Like if you notice you're doing something crazy like that every so often with an injury, maybe it's time to take some time off if it's still hurting.
sure. I think one more thing we should hit on is warming up before a run. I know none of us like
Mm,
to take the time to do that. Liesl has a really good routine that she recommends, and I really like is called 3D Maps. It was created
mhm,
by a physical therapist here in Michigan, Dr. Gary Gray, at the Gary Gray Institute, and it's a really great movement, moving you in all planes. And kind of
mhm,
the way Liesl describes it is, if you're using it before your run and you're moving in all of those directions, you can kind of work things out before you start your run. So you don't have junk miles, right? You're not working
right.
in the first mile or two. You've already moved in those different planes. And if you're feeling maybe the start of an injury, like a little niggle happening, you can spend a little bit more time doing that mapping to be able to move you through all those planes so that when you actually go into your run, those things might be worked out. Maybe you have a tight Achilles, right? And in one of the
Hmm.
motions is moving you in and out of that. And maybe that just kind of is just enough that you need to be able to release that so that when you run, you feel fine. So I think that that can also help a little bit with injury prevention. And it takes like 5 minutes. I'm guilty of
Yeah.
it too, but I mean, it really, really is a helpful tool, I think.
Yeah, I love that too, and I love all of the 3D mapping that's in our Ornery Mule profile. It's so good to just kind of wake the body up and make sure that you're prepped to run. A lot of times we're asking our athletes to do like a tempo run or something where you're going to be pushing your body or any sort of speed work or even a long run. Like you just want to feel your best when you start. So I definitely try and do some of that as well. And I like to do it even just at night, before bed or just kind of moving the body a little bit more for recovery.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, and then I think another tool that I love that I could do all the time is an Epsom salt soak. There's not a
Mm.
lot of solid research out there as to why it helps, but I definitely notice a difference after I've soaked in Epsom.
Hmm.
It. So, a great way to kind of help your body recover after a hard workout or a long run is when I prefer to use that. Do you like Epsom
Yes.
salts? Yeah.
Yes, and I kind of like the KT tape. I can go through like hundreds of dollars of that so fast.
Yes, stock in that stuff.
It's so good, but I'm a bath person anyway. Like I only shower to get the dirt off, but a bath is like my go-to every day if I can.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I'm a big believer in that. And there's just something so calming about just soaking in water to begin with. And then you add in the Epsom salt and it's just like magic.
Exactly. And then that compression of the water, if you have some inflammation, can help clear some
Oh,
out too. Uh,
it's so good.
right. Another thing I like to do, we shared about it in our gadgets, is the wave tool, which is that
Mhm.
rest tool. Sometimes I will take that in the bathtub with me as well
Oh,
and
there you go.
do a little bit of light tooling. So if you have any kind of muscle adhesions, you can kind of work those out right in the tub. And, since you're in that water, it's going to glide on your leg a little bit more and not like be so scrapey.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You definitely you utilize your tools in the bath while you multitask. Like that's
Right.
a great idea. No, I love that. And then I guess a bigger piece too is even your nutrition while you're down and injured. Your body needs good fueling to be able to repair itself. So you can't be eating a ton of junk and expect to feel your best any
Right.
point, but especially when you're injured, your body needs key nutrients to repair. Maybe talk to a nutritionist, see what would be the best things for you to eat while you're injured. But that's also a big piece that a lot of us neglect. But it's this whole thing. It's the whole everything you can do, and everyone that when you're injured, you just want to be better. So why wouldn't you focus on nutrition, tools, massage, bath, like focus on everything, and make sure you're not leaving anything out of this.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a good point. Speaking to a nutritionist about your diet, also, with that person or with your physician, you can talk about supplements because there are supplements
Mhm.
that can, be helpful for you as well in that recovery process. So I think that's another piece that I have as part of my tools,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Be able to kind of help your body along because when we're injured, we just want to be better like immediately. And you're like, I will do anything. And like,
Exactly.
okay, well, maybe not eat, Oreos and pizza. Oh, I won't do
Right. Yeah.
that.
For sure.
But yeah, that's super good advice on everything that we've touched on. I think that we've kind of covered most of the injury aspects of what you can do. But I think the biggest takeaway is patience, right?
Mhm. I agree. Yep. Being
Yeah.
patient and listening to your body.
Listening to your body, being patient, being kind to yourself, and to not beat yourself up whenever you do this. I mean, it's inevitable. Like, talk to somebody that's been through what you've been through. Their path won't look exactly like yours, but having someone that you can kind of just express your frustrations to is really helpful.
Right, right. I'm just going to add in one more piece. I think it's the aging piece. As we age, especially women, and hormone changes, our tendons and are changing, right? So it takes longer for things to heal than it did prior to when we were younger. And so I think that's
Hmm.
to think about too. Lisa and I talk about this a lot as far as people that are in perimenopause, menopause, and how long those tendons are taking to recover versus, when we were younger. So I think that's
Right.
another thing that, again, patience, because it might not heal as quickly as you would expect because of that piece that's going on.
Right. And that's just part of, getting older and life that we have to just accept. Like, don't try and fight your way through that.
Right.
Like, just be patient with your body. We're all going to be there and just allow that extra recovery time is really important. And just giving yourself some grace through that time as well.
For sure.
And of course, we've talked to Dr. or talked about Dr. Liesel a bunch in this episode. Loretta, I'm sure she will take outside patients if you contact her, correct?
Absolutely. You can
Wonderful.
actually, you could just reach out to me if you want, Loretta, at or what is my email address? At Mule Racing at gmail.com. And I could certainly connect you with Dr. Liesel Elsie. She's a physical therapist who specializes in runners and with pelvic floor health. In my mind, she's fabulous. Really
Hmm.
great PT to work with and really understands runners and has
Hmm.
spent a lot of time working with ultra runners. So that has made her even more effective with, the ultra runner world. She's followed me for probably 6 or 7 years. So I've been a good
Yeah.
for her.
Exactly. Yeah, she's really knowledgeable and she knows her stuff. So if anyone wants to kind of reach out to her, definitely contact Loretta. But she's a great tool because you can do it online and she's very thorough online with our athletes whenever they do their intro with her. So you're not missing anything by not being in person if you're not close.
Right. And the cool thing is that if you are one of our athletes or decide to become one of our athletes, that's part of our coaching package is an initial movement screen with Dr. Liesel Elsie, which would be done through a Zoom or a video call where she assesses your movement. And then she also has you submit a video of you running from the side view, the back view, so she can kind of see how you move through space to determine like what kind of challenges that we might need to work on to help develop our mobility and strength training plan for you, and then
Mhm.
also guides along the way. She's a huge resource for me. I'm constantly texting her about anybody having a niggle to make sure I'm sending them in the right direction of things to
Yeah.
do. I've learned a wealth of knowledge from Liesel, and she loves supporting our athletes. So,
Mhm.
so I think that definitely, if you're thinking about becoming one of our athletes, that is I think, a huge asset to our coaching program.
Yeah, I totally agree. Can't overuse her enough. She's great.
Then, I'll just throw in, so we also, if you live local or willing to drive, she does have a clinic here in Brighton, Michigan. I've had
Mhm.
athletes come in from Milwaukee, Chicago to come see her. That's just how great she is. She uses a 3D gait analysis system, which was developed by Run DNA, which is the running platform that we use for coaching. And recently, she just did a new screen on me. So we've done screens a couple of times. And it's basically like hooking up electrodes to you. It takes less than a minute. She gets a screen capture of your movement and then can help guide you with form, strength, and mobility to correct any imbalances that you may have. So interestingly enough, that's something that we've done with my heel. And,
Mhm.
I looked at since my heel has had issues. And one of the things that I'm working on is I have a side kick balance board that I'm working on the pronation supination of my foot. I think
Mhm.
maybe it's gotten reduced mobility from the issue that I'm having from the beach. And
Right.
so that was one of the things that we came from that. And the cool thing about it too is, especially like we like to be good at what we're doing, right? So the system has now adapted a number point system. So you
Mhm.
see when you're improving based on the numbers. And so that was kind of fun to see an improvement from the last time that I had had it done. So
That's
that's
awesome.
too that you can do. Yeah,
Yeah, very cool. Well, I hope people definitely utilize her knowledge and her experience. It's super helpful for everybody just to know what you're dealing with and kind of from a doctor's perspective.
sure. Yes.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right. Well,
great.
it's been fun chatting. I'm super looking forward
Yes.
to being at the Woodstock event this weekend, which is in Gregory, Michigan. A big festival of running from, I think, 5K to a 100-mile race on a mountain bike course near us. There's a place that everybody can camp at, which was an old Boy Scouts camp that surrounds the entire course, which makes it just kind of a really fun atmosphere. So
Very cool.
you guys can follow me on Ultra Crazy Runner on my Instagram because I'm sure I'll be posting
Yeah.
we're going on all weekend and we'll have our van down there. So if anybody is going to be at Hallucination or any of the Woodstock events, I'll be there. Find me. I'll be running around somewhere. Think Scott
Amazing.
will be there.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear how it goes for Lily. Is Scott running?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and anyone else that's running, good luck, and we know you'll do great and have so much fun.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right, thank you guys for listening.
All right. Bye.
Bye.